Okay, we are live. Welcome
Heyo.
everyone. Welcome Luke. That took a minute to get us up and running.
The old blessing and the curse of technology. Love it, and when it's working well, and don't think much about it. And
Yeah. So to maybe continue our conversation from last week because you and I are barely getting back into the swing of things. Things come up on my end, things come up on your end. I'm really happy that though we keep coming back and circling around and getting on these Friday sessions.
yes,
I think it's extremely helpful for me, and we're continuing to grow. Grow what we're doing. And for me, I don't know about you, I use this for long form content because I find that the conversations that you and I have, there's always some sort of nugget from you or me or you and me that I can cut down into smaller things. So you turned me on to Opus Clip,
yeah,
and I didn't use it all last year. So I paid for it, didn't use it. And it just renewed. So I'm like, oh man, I haven't used that thing. It's dumb. I'm gonna just cancel it. But then I thought to myself, I'm like, no, I didn't really give it a shot. So I took our last episode. I don't know if you saw this on my social media. I took our last episode, took it into Opus Clip, actually
hmm
took time to understand how to use it,
yeah.
and it pulled out a segment that I posted on Instagram and TikTok
Cool.
about. I said something to you about my journey, about how it's igniting a fire within, and
Yes.
so I posted that, and it took less than a minute. So I'm going to continue to go. I'm going to use our long form.
hmm
I'm going to go back through and just have it evaluate all of our past sessions.
Yeah.
And I probably have content that's going into, well, we've been doing this for more than a year. So if
Right.
you could get, 5 clips out of a year, I mean, I have an indefinite amount of content. Are you using Opus Clips?
I'm right there with you. I have it. I think I just renewed too because it was probably around the same time I had like some sort of like the annual plan. And I got out of practice with it because I shifted some focus, but I have uploaded some stuff again, not just this past week to revisit it because um, the nice thing that I did notice is it wasn't a use it or lose it. They added all my minutes from all my available usage from last year onto this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So I should have that too then.
I probably.
I thought, well, I'm okay now that it's a rollover minutes.
Yep.
I'm all right with that. I'll have to double check that. I'm not going to do that right now. So so that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm actually posting more consistently. I'm really focusing on something that I'm passionate about, and that is kind of rediscovering the old Brett in my
Yeah.
fitness and my mindset. And you know me a long time. I've always been kind of a hard charger, but I think I've gone back to a different level right now as far as getting things done. It was pouring rain yesterday. So what I did is I just grabbed a poncho and I just took off rucking.
Yeah,
Wasn't pouring
buddy.
as hard this morning. Did it anyways. So, my goals and commitments are more important than comfort from a little bit of rain. I'm not too worried about that.
The big old 5-0 will.
Oh, I lost you. Say something.
I said the big 5-0 really lights a fire, huh?
You know, it really did. Like when I look back on what happened, I was getting injured.
hmm
I was, and not my lower back was getting injured. I was carrying more weight than pretty much I ever had, and that
Right.
was done just slowly. I
Yeah.
got gout. Have you ever had
Ooh.
gout?
No,
It's
but I've
horrible.
known.
Your foot feels like you're on fire. So not only
Yeah,
did I have sciatica, which means my whole left leg was frozen and tingling, um, I ended up getting gout when I was in Dubai, which we went to Italy. Me and my wife did, and I was walking around with it, and I'm just like, I hit that point where I'm like, this isn't working. This is the wrong trajectory.
yeah,
And it was at that time I didn't plan ahead. I just made a decision. I'm like, nope, this isn't happening. What's the minimum thing I can do? Well, I got a watch. I have an Apple Watch. I'm going to close out all the rings and make sure I hit 10,000 steps. And that's how it began. So, and now I'm
yeah,
on training day 218, and it's quite different. Now, here's the thing. Chat GPT, you and I have talked about on this how it's not AI that's going to put someone out of business. It's the person who uses AI that puts the other person out of
yeah.
business. So, one of the things that I'm using AI for, and you and I have been using it since it got released. We have, in fact, I think I need to go back to some of those videos just to see what we were talking about, because I
Right.
remember us having a conversation about I couldn't get onto Chat GPT because it was they were you had it, but you actually had
Yeah,
to apply, and they were adding it incrementally.
yeah,
But now you fast forward, I use Grok, I use Chat GPT, I've used Microsoft's Copilot in comparisons to, no surprise, but it's really helped me on my journey. Like
yeah,
ChatGPT has the feature where you can talk to it.
yeah,
So I have an earbud in, and when I'm rucking, and I just talk to it. Um, it's helping me like it. I've learned so much about intermittent dieting just because I have an hour-long talk with ChatGPT, and the conversation goes where I want it to go instead of just
right.
research. The from a work standpoint, it's helping me ghostwrite things that would the first draft typically takes several hours. It takes 2 minutes,
Yeah,
and 90 seconds of that 2 minutes is actually typing. So you get your first draft done. So it's actually really amazing where we're going, and I can only imagine what it's going to look like in 5 years.
yeah. It's mind blowing. The uses that I've found, obviously started out with a lot of like business stuff, but like you, I've shifted to adding in a lot of personal stuff too. Um, that I wasn't necessarily thinking that I wanted to do. A good example of this is I got a speeding ticket the other day, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to contest this with AI. I'm just as like a thought experiment and process. Like I'm going to take this and I'm going to, do what I can with AI to try to get out of this ticket. Just pure like just see what we can do type of a thing. Worst case scenario, I would pay the ticket, right? Or like go to some sort of,
Which
or
you would do anyways.
or pay a virtual assistant to take a, my, traffic training school, type of a deal.
Yeah, because you would
um,
have done that anyways.
yeah, I mean, as worst case scenario, I'm gonna, I got to do that. We'll go down that route. But I was like, hey, why not do this? And so I'm now it's I'm going to go through the process of disputing the ticket. I already have like a full like step by step a laundry list of ways of going about doing this, procedure stuff, yada yada yada. And I was like, and this is purely just like, hey, I'm just gonna try this and like see where it goes. And I don't necessarily look at it like it's not. It's gonna take a little bit of my personal time where normally I would just pay something to move on with my day type of a deal, but more so just as like a learning process, learning experiment, like how far can I take this type of a deal.
You know what's interesting with that? Before I moved to California, I got a speeding ticket in a construction zone. And this
Hmm.
was my first experience to buying a digital online course
Yeah.
because I searched for exactly what you had just talked about. And I came across this website from a guy that was a career like CHP or, yeah, he was in California
Yeah.
control. I was speeding in a, they said they clocked me on a motorcycle, a pacing ticket in a construction zone.
Yeah.
And I remember this so vividly because of the fact that I did the same thing. I'm like, well, look, what's the harm? Uh, Worst case scenario, I'm going to end up paying a fine. I'm going to have to do this, that, or the other. You know, I was looking at what the worst case scenario is. Now, if
Hmm.
somebody's accused of a serious crime, I don't necessarily know if they should do that. But
Right.
it does give you a level of understanding about things. But I learned that just because something's labeled a construction zone doesn't make it a construction zone unless there's actually people working on construction where there
Ooh.
weren't. I learned that a pacing speeding ticket, you have to, it's based on the temperature, based on the air pressure of the tires. There's so many things that it's based on, and I actually ended up winning.
Yeah.
The I showed up for trial very, very much prepared, and um, the prosecutor dismissed charges.
Right.
Now it took a lot of time.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about it. It was
Right.
really interesting, and I'm interested to see how this goes. So, what step are you in right now?
Well, first off, I went for the operator route. I was like, I'm just gonna go full on. Like, I have this ticket. I uploaded a picture of it, and I said, I want you to dispute this ticket. Just go through everything that you need to do to get me out of this. And it was pretty remarkable. But then I went down the rabbit hole of just like, and it was mostly just like a thought experiment of just asking questions and like, what if, okay, why this, or what are some other angles, like what are they going to come back. So it was like this kind of like devil's advocate of
You were playing
you know
chess.
yeah. And so um I mean, I think like that specific approach, like if even if you were to approach something that was like more serious, or uh, great resource to even question your own attorneys that you're hiring for something. So right now I'm putting together essentially putting together my strategy, having it approach of like a priority of best case scenarios of kind of like how to get out of the ticket type of things, bullet points, word tracks to try to stick to, and questions to ask to elicit holes, gaps, and in opportunities for me to approach. So it's pretty entertaining.
Well, and I'm glad that we're doing this every Friday. So let's keep that as a project and just see how
Yeah.
things go. I do the same thing. That's how I learned so much about intermittent fasting.
Right.
I got my blood test results, and the nurse practitioner that when I got the results called, left a message. It was less than a minute, and she even called me by the wrong name. So I'm like, that's stupid. And so I just uploaded my blood test results from last year and this year,
Yeah.
and I was like, evaluate this. Where am I at? And then it was saying some things, and um, I learned a lot about that.
Yeah.
So I think that, are you using ChatGPT for this? Probably, because Grok hasn't gotten to that same point yet.
Yeah, some for this, I'll default to ChatGPT for a lot of stuff. I've been trying, other things like I'm using Claude a lot for coding. So I've started
Claude,
uh, making software and making Chrome extensions,
C
or
L A
teaching myself to
W,
code. Yeah, Claude.
Claude. Never even heard of
Yeah,
that. So what
C
does that
L
do?
A U D E, Claude. Claude. So I'm using this one more so for coding and writing code, and teaching myself how to use more some like no code tools. So I could take like screenshots of like websites or stuff or anything. I'm like, make, I want like you could, for example, like take like LinkedIn. Like I want to make a software that's going to model LinkedIn. Here's LinkedIn. Like make me something like this, and it'll
No kidding.
freaking,
So
yeah,
would I be able to create like a scheduling? I do a lot of manual scheduling.
100%.
Um, but I have the process already mapped out. It's just that you might recall this. This is when I was using Zapier. So people would
Hmm.
fill out a form. It would go to Zapier. Zapier would put on a form. But then I would have to manually align people up with,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, you could totally make it. So there's a handful of like no code tools that you can use. Bolt.do, New, Lovable, Cursor are a few of them that I'm using, but like it will help you make software, write all the code for you, and you talk to it in real language, and then Claude, what I'm doing is like I'm taking like if I get stuck somewhere on some sort of like coding something, like it's looping, like it can't solve itself, like I'll take a screenshot of the code,
Okay.
plug it into Claude. Claude will be, it'll give me, whatever its feedback is, and then I take that and move it and troubleshoot,
Okay.
making
Well,
bugs
I'm
and
going to do
stuff.
that. I'm going
So
to check that out. I'm gonna, so we're at the top of the hour. So I think that maybe we should just pause right there.
let's
But
get it.
I'm going to write down, I keep a running tally of where we're at on these conversations. So for next week, I don't know, are you going to be at a place where somewhere on your speeding ticket that we're going to be able to talk about that?
No, I think I'm scheduled. Right now, it's scheduled me a beginning of March, beginning in next month. So I don't know if we'll have any
Okay.
updates, but we can
So we can
circle
talk about
back on
Claude. Yeah.
some other of these website making fun stuff.
Well, okay. So we're going to do that. I am between now this week and next week, and I'll report back to you next Friday. Is I got to get back on the rails of my commitment to previewing properties and
Yep,
just showcasing all of that. I'm getting my YouTube page reformatted. The life of Brett, the tactical life of Brett kind of thing. I'm actually having Chat GPT help me out in deciding how to structure things. So um, we'll be able to talk about that next week too.
beautiful.
All right, my brother. It's always
Let's
a
get it.
pleasure. Have a great
Happy
weekend.
Friday, my man.
Bye.